I now turn it over to Erica Ewing, who will introduce our main speaker, Dora Rodriguez.
Good morning. Muy buenos días a todos y todas. I'm so happy to see all of you here. I wish you were a little closer, but that's okay. This has been a lot of work for us and a lot of dreaming and hoping, and I'm glad you're all with us. I hope you can hear me okay. Can you hear me? Okay. I'm so excited to welcome each of you, and I hope that we can connect throughout the day and hear all of these stories and take them into our hearts and be transformed and filled as well with light that each of us is bringing today. I'm here to introduce Dora Rodriguez, who is, I'm happy to call my friend, and I'm going to read a little bit about her, and then I'm going to just say a few more words before we show a video and she'll speak with us. This is just a short bio in case you don't know anything about her. But Dora Rodriguez, in a life-saving attempt to flee El Salvador's civil war in 1980, was one of 13 survivors found near death while crossing the border through the Sonoran Desert. By bravely publicizing her story of migration and through her unwavering support for migrant rights, her image has been propelled to the forefront of the sanctuary movement and the movement for migrant rights in Tucson, Arizona, and throughout this country. Through her public speaking and advocacy work, Dora's focus is to educate communities about the harsh realities migrants face in the desert and to inspire transformative changes to the immigration injustices plaguing our border towns. She resides in Tucson, Arizona with her husband. She's a loving mother to 5 children and 4 grandchildren, and she's a very proud grandmother. She serves as the director of an organization she and her family founded called Salvavision, where they offer aid and support to migrants and to those who have been deported to their home countries. I just want to say I feel so blessed to know Dora. Sorry. I went to El Salvador. Sorry, I didn't think I would cry. And I was nervous. I traveled alone. And I got there and I got to this beautiful little hotel in the city with this beautiful woman caretaker. And they said, oh, someone will be rooming with you. And I was, so excited and nervous for this big week. And then Dora comes in the room, and Dora is the most bright light in the place anywhere you go. She is such a loving, kind person. And I'm so grateful that we get to hear her today and be in her presence, and that I'm so grateful for all the people who come in her path in the borderlands to meet someone who has this spirit that just makes you feel so at home wherever you are, because we need more of that for each other. And I just want to give a beautiful welcome to my friend Dora Rodriguez, and that we all take in some of her light and help give her some back for the work she continues to do.
This photo reminds me just death and pain and tragedy, but also it gave me the chance to live one more time. I just don't know why I survived. I see those pictures, and then people was gone around me. Tenía mi historia muy guardada en mi corazón por muchos, muchos años. Not even my own children knew details of my story because it was way too painful. It brought me shame because I broke the law and I crossed a border with no documents. But I was not a criminal. I was not a bad person. I was just fleeing for my life. that something was coming in our country because we saw soldiers everywhere. We saw the military arresting people without any excuse. Entonces yo sabía que era muy peligroso para mí. In January of 1980, we were walking back from a meeting, and as soon as I got home, I heard many gunshots and screaming. So we hid, we went under the beds, and after everything was quiet, we went to see what was going on. And I found my friend who was also a coordinator for the youth group. His name was Rene. And I found him in the lap of his grandmother, dead. So they just shot him and left. So that increased my fear, and it was just no way that I was gonna stay behind and not being killed. A friend of mine said, well, if you have some way to get a little money, we can go. I can take you. I know the way to the norte. Maybe you'll be safe over there. It was 45 of us Salvadorians, women and children and families that met in the capital after we paid these guys half of the money, and they put us in a bus, and it was so many of us, and we became friends, after a 7 days journey. And in my group, it was 3 sisters. Oh my God, they were my sisters of the journey, and we connected, we had a good time, and there we go. We got in the bus and started going through rivers, to mountains, to buses, and changing bus stations, and we ended up in the Sonoran Desert. We were just not prepared. We just didn't have enough water. We didn't have the appropriate shoes, appropriate clothing. We were carrying our luggages of clothes. There's some women with high heels. There's some women with rollers and makeup because they wanted to look beautiful for their husbands. Because the smuggler told us that within an hour, we were to catch a plane. And that's how dumb we were. I mean, you're so ignorant about this. You don't know. And it was really easy because it was just a barbed wire. They didn't have this huge border wall that is now. So we just crossed, and then we thought, oh my God, we're already in the United States, and we're safe, and we're gonna be safe, and we're in trouble. Where are we going? And a lot of us start saying we wanna go back. And then we would keep drinking and drinking and drinking water because it was so hot. It was almost 11 at night, and it was 110 degrees. The ground was hot. You couldn't lay down in there because it was so hot. So the first night of us walking, we lost our first woman. She died because she had a heart attack about 3 a.m. And we also just sit down around her and put her clothes on top of her, said a prayer, and left. I'm sure she was never recovered because it was far away where we were found. We keep walking and walking at night, rest for a little bit, keep walking, and the smuggler, the young one, got scared. And he said, I'm leaving because you're a bunch of idiots and you're stupid and you're yelling, you're making too many sounds. So he left. But he left his father with us. Mateo was his father's name. He didn't know where to go. The area is called the Devil's Highway because people says es el camino del diablo. Nadie sale con vida. But we didn't know. The second night, we were in the afternoon, we were already drinking our own tea. I just couldn't walk anymore, and I keep telling my uncle, I just can't do it. I'm gonna die here. I just leave me under this tree. I can't do it anymore. My feet were already blistered, and I had cactus all over my body and my face and my hands. And my uncle tied his belt to my pants, and he says, I'm gonna dry you because I cannot leave you here. Parecíamos ya como muertos caminando, como al tercer día. Ya no éramos con la sonrisa y aquel spunk, ya no teníamos nada de eso. Teníamos solamente mucho miedo y sabíamos que íbamos a morir. Como al cuarto día, ya no caminábamos. Los hombres se fueron a buscar ayuda y nos quedamos solo las mujeres. And it was just us girls under a tree with the Salvadorian smuggler who said, well, I'm gonna stay behind with the women because I'll take care of them. And I remember that night, we were just screaming very loud and trying to get attention. So men started a fire, it didn't go anywhere. So it was all this confusion and all this fight for survival. Nomás queríamos sobrevivir. Era todo. And I remember here they're screaming and screaming, begging the men not to hurt them. And I know that he raped some of them. But I was under a tree, under a bush, and pretending like I was dead because I knew that he could have hurt me too. I just couldn't get up. But and then I don't remember. I think I just went to sleep. And I remember waking up to the arms of a border patrol that's screaming in my face not to go to sleep. And I keep asking for water. He'll say, no, just don't go to sleep on me. Don't die on me. And then they flew us from that area where we were found to a hospital in Ajo, Arizona. And by that, when we were recovered, I didn't know who was dead or who was not. But we find out in the hospital that the three sisters, my friends, they were gone. All of them. And there was the 12, the 14, and the 16-year-old. Sort of other women, and one that was pregnant. And she was gone too. A young man, they were so strong, they were gone. So it was 13 that survived, and I'm one of them. And 14 that died with the baby in the mama's belly. But yeah, it was hard. It's hard to remember. The sanctuary movement was already coming alive in Tucson, Arizona. But the thing is that nothing had happened, a tragedy of the dimension of that big, that got the world's attention. The sanctuary movement really got their, oh my God, they got their power on and said, we have to help these people. And I know that they did an incredible job. And then I became part of them within a year after I was helped from them. I started going in their meetings. I started saying, I'm here, I want to help. And I had never stopped. I'm now 63. I turned this horrible tragedy into something that brings life. But it's my healing. If I wouldn't be out there in the desert helping people and thinking when I go to bed at night, because today I was there and I give someone water, that person survived. I don't know how I will do without that. that's what I know, that I will do this the rest of my life.
Good morning. I had to have the stool or you won't see me. I was teasing somebody when I was a child in my country. I never had milk, which I had coffee, so that's why I didn't get taller. Thank you so much, and thank you for giving me the space. Thank you for your willingness to be here, spending some time with me, with us. And it's our hope that at the end of the day, we, just have a lot of other more stories to share. As we are in a very crucial moment in our country where we must bring the real story. We must say what really is happening. And I know for experience, the stories are powerful. After I was rescued in the desert, I called Tucson, Arizona, my home. So I have been living in there for 45 years now. I went to school, I learned English. I did not see my family until 7 years later, after I could go back to my country. I never got asylum, because that's a very, very, very hard status to get, and it always been. So I got legalized through marriage. And then 10 years later, after I spoke English and learned those 100 questions. Oh, God. Don't ask me now because I do not remember them. I failed once, and then I went back, and I guess the officer feels sorry for me and just asked me 5 questions, and then I passed. So I became a citizen. And, for 35 years, I have been able to exercise my right. And that's what I think that is something that is our voice. We need to exercise it. We need to do it, and especially right now. I'm going to share with you a little bit of the work we do in Arizona, and I am more than happy to answer questions about our journey and what happened to my friends, what happened to the mother of my 3 friends, the 3 sisters that were coming unaccompanied minors. They were alone. And then we put some light to the story of what happened in the southern border, of the reality of what I see every single day on the eyes of our friends. They now are not welcome, but we welcome them. Let me see if I can play with this little toy they gave me. This is the site where my friends that lost their life too soon couldn't get to their American dream, which I always say there is no American dream. You gotta work hard. You gotta achieve what you have to achieve to survive. We're constantly in a survival mode after our journeys, because I see families right now with that survival mode. So I was at the site 3 days ago and visiting. I did not know where we were found until 35 years later. where it's a wonderful man in Tucson, Arizona, that maybe some of you know. His name is Alvaro, and Alvaro is from Colombia, and he's also a migrant, but had his life in the United States. So now what Alvaro does, he goes through the Arizona desert in our area and put crosses to help visualize the death in our borderlands of our people crossing. So I met Alvaro in 2018, and he knew about my journey, and he said, I'm gonna find you. I'm gonna find the place where you and your friends were found. In 2019, he called me and he says, I found a place. Talking about flashbacks. Usually, us humans, when we have such a trauma in our lives, if it's even too painful to remember, as I did, I put it in a box in my heart. And it was very secret to me, and I did not share with my children as they were growing up, because it brought me, like I was saying, it brought me shame, it brought me, I crossed without documents, I was running. I was not a criminal in my country, but I was running of fear. And as I tell people, none of us flee in our countries, or even internal migration now in this country, leave because you want to. You are forced to leave what you know. And the only thing you know is your family, your community, your friends. And in my country, in El Salvador, I grew up with a single mother, very poor, but happy. I had a happy childhood. And I'm not kidding, I didn't have milk, but I had coffee every morning with a piece of bread. And that was happiness, right? That's all I knew. So when I got to be 19 years old, and I was at the perfect age for the death squads in my country, they were forming to disappear people like me, young. They fought for justice. I've been doing this since I remember. I had to leave. I had to put everything I had in a backpack. My mother, who up to today is hard to remember to saying goodbye, had to put a little piece of paper in my underwear with my name because she knew it was dangerous. Somebody must have told her. And this is happening now. It has not really changed. The unaccompanied minors, I was already 19, but I get to see a lot of unaccompanied minors in our borderlands. So that's where we were found, and it's a beautiful place to go and pay respect now. We had 13 crosses, and I had one with the mother. She was 3 months pregnant in our group. So let me go back. Okay, so talking about the death map. The death map is something that it was created in 2001 by an amazing organization in Tucson, Arizona, and it's called Humane Borders. And the mission of Humane Borders is to prevent death in our desert. So the red dots you see is the life that have been lost, seeking safety or coming to a better life. And as it was created in the late 90s, but prevention to deterrence, many of us know that our borders got militarized. And this government spent billions of dollars in civilians' cameras. So what it was almost like a project. They wanted it to see if that worked. This government knew that if they would have put all these cameras in our desert, people would go farther and farther where could it be help if they were in trouble, or it would be really hard for rescue teams to get them, to help them. So they said, well, if people, it's always about controlling the border. So they said if people die, they're gonna go back home, or they're gonna know, and their families, friends are not gonna wanna come. Well, 20 years later or more, we have over 4,500 people in our desert. They have died. And this is only the remains that are found. We have probably double that number of people that have not ever been found. The desert takes care of you. The desert is a beautiful, beautiful secret place. But it's dangerous if you're not prepared to cross the miles and miles of cactus and thorn and walking and terrain that is very, very hard to walk, and especially at night. So I encourage you to Google Humane Borders, and you can read more about the red map. And where you see most of the concentration when it's like brownish color is the Tohono O'odham. There is a reservation. And because they also have their own laws, they also have their own secret places where humanitarian aids are not allowed to put water in that area. But many hundreds of people die in there because it's a crossing area. So we're still trying to do our best to talk to the leaders in the community and to say, listen, this is people like you or I, they could die in there. But we haven't get there yet. It got all the way to Congress to fight for this, and we were denied over and over and over. I don't know, okay. So Salvavision is the organization that in 2016, we put together with my children, growing children and family and friends, because we saw the need in our borderlands. We're binational, and because we feel like we're setting fires up all the time, because the policies change it for us, the need change. So, and in 2017, 2018, when we started seeing the separation of families, and then we move into children separation, and then we move into Title 42, where it was the massive deportations. We got together and we continue to just to be present. We're not solving the problem at that moment, but we're solving somebody's problem in that moment, and that's all it matters. And that's what I said. It's hard for me as an advocate, as a person who is in the ground every day, to see the large picture of what's going on around the world, because it really can discourage me. And I want to keep going. I want to keep my strength. I want to keep my soul from burning out. We were talking just a minute ago about that, and it's just, I have to see the person in front of me. What is it that you need now? Do you need a little blanket for your child? Do you need a baby bottle? Do you need milk? Do you need water? That's what it matters to them, and that's what it matters to me at that moment. So in Salvavision, in the year 2020, we in a very small town in Sassavez, Sonora, which is 70 miles west of Tucson, Arizona. It is the border wall, which is 22 miles west and east. And for 3 years, that 22 miles of border wall had 24 gaps. So people was coming in large numbers. And what a waste of money. Each mile is $1 million in our borderlands. And also really has hurt so much animals crossing across, habitat, even the butterflies, because they sometimes can go as high as 30 feet wall. So when we got hit with Title 42, which was during the pandemic, early March, the last person who was our president stated that everybody was bringing the virus, that we had to get rid of everybody. Nobody was allowed to come. The border was closed. Well, the border was not closed. The border was open to tourism. The border was open to people going to Nogales, Sonora, and get their teeth fixed and have good taco day. But the border was closed to our friends coming seeking safety, and women and children and indigenous women from many countries who would present to a border agent and beg them to listen to their case, to give them the opportunity to seek asylum in this country. And they were returned. And they were returned to a town, Sasabe, Sonora, where there is no resources, not even for the locals. That community had only 2,500 people, and they had no hospital, no transportation, nothing. But we were getting 150 to 200 people deported every single day in that community. So in September 2020, we found that humanitarian crisis in that town. So as a Salvavision and other sisters organizations, including, we've been so blessed to work with Mennonites, with Southern Presbyterian churches around the country, UCC churches, the Loreto sisters. I mean, it is amazing how everybody comes together and help, because you cannot do this work alone. I will never, ever be able to do what we do. So we, found that little town in Chambos with so many hundreds and hundreds of people from, most of them were Central America and South America. And by the end of December of 2020, we had already delivered literally 15,000 of bags of food and water bottles and shoes and blankets, because this is what we do. We see the crisis, we go, we help, we show up, and this is great. This is, I think all of us can do that, each of us in different ways. So now we are working and bringing delegations, the youth, a lot of students. I love those moments because they are our future. I'm ready to pass the baton, not yet, but soon. And I said, when they come to our borderlands and they learn, so if you ever have a group of students or youth or church group or anybody, any age, can come to our borderlands and really learn of the work we do. And there's so many other organizations that are there. Just in this group of students from a university in New Mexico, there were like 7 different countries. So there are so many, one from Africa, several from China, Nepal, Honduras. It's beautiful. So we can do that together, bring them over. And we volunteer. We always need volunteers. And a lot of people tell me, well, I live in Ohio. How can I volunteer with you, right? And I say, well, first of all, spread the word. Tell the stories. Share what you heard today. We need to do that. We need to be brave and have a decent conversation with someone who does not really agree with what's happening. My heart goes out to all the fear that is around in this country, and I feel for the people that are suffering anger and fear, because I think that we care and we know, feel better about this. And we can have a cup of coffee nice and quiet and say a prayer without so much anger. But the people who are now so wrapped up in the misinformation is suffering. So we can help them to bring the good stories and maybe warm their hearts. Let me see, I went back. I want to show another slide. Sometimes I'm not very good with these little toys. So we have, like I was telling you about the border wall that has been built across the southern border. In our area in particular, people is presenting for asylum until the executive order in June 4th. So that changed for us. But in this area in particular, there is people that are being guided by smugglers from all over the world. Just 2 days ago, we had people from Egypt, from China, from Africa, a few from South America, but they have done this journey, a very, very dangerous journey and very expensive journey to present to the authorities of immigration authorities to ask for protection, to ask for asylum. But because the executive order, now we again are seeing the rapid expulsion of people in our borderlands. But most of the people that are being returned are from Mexico. There is other ways from people like from Venezuela, from Colombia, from Haiti to present. Again, in 2.5 years ago, this government wanted to figure it out how to bring people to the United States without how to pay a smuggler or going through this journey. And they gave us an app that is called CBP One. Some of you are familiar, and if you're not, I invite you to take a look at cbp1.org, and that is in Spanish and other languages. So what they hoped with that was that people would apply for protection and asylum in their home countries. It's not easy to get, it's not easy to do. Now people have to have a place in southern Mexico, in Chiapas, which is the border with Guatemala and Mexico, which is extremely, extremely dangerous. It is controlled by the organized crime. So they know there is people coming with this application, they're not gonna pay them. So they kidnap them, and it's a big problem. The blanket you see, what to me is to the right, it's a beautiful blanket I found in the morning of Easter Sunday. I practice my church at the border wall in the borderlands. And we brought with other friends, other sisters in this fight, we brought a bunch of eggs and we're able to give them to people from Bangladesh. I could not even imagine a person all the way from Bangladesh. It was there, 2 young men. And we shared with them the tradition that we have here, because they didn't know what Easter Sunday was. And I said, just eat the eggs, they're good. Let's not go to details. Let's just have a good company here. Be present. And of course, we take care of our little puppies too, because they're stuck. They can go through those mountains and run around and have a good time. So let me get now to the present. Sorry. I just want to show one more slide, and I think I might run out of time. So because of the policies that we created in this country, that they change very quickly, we have people still crossing the desert when they could present. You know, they were presenting in large numbers, and it was better because now they were under the hands of the authorities. They did a background check. They knew who these people was. They're coming to our communities already with an appointment to a judge. So they were not running away from authorities. But because of the change of the executive order, because they felt overwhelmed, apparently, they didn't have enough people to take care of all these women and children, especially presenting to seek asylum, they're now pushing people through our desert. So every day in the borderlands, in the town of Nogales, Sonora, I meet hundreds and hundreds of people from Mexico who have been deported. This young man was walking very quiet. He was apart from everybody that had been deported, but I noticed him limping. And I just went and talked to him, introduced myself. They don't trust people because they've been hurt so much along the journey and robbed and kidnapped that they don't trust you, even if you look nice. They don't trust you. But I went and talked to him, and I said, "Why are you limping?" He said, "I have blisters in my feet. I was lost in the desert for 4 days." So we took care of him and sent him to a near shelter in that area. But this is the consequences of shutting down paths that could bring people to our country legally and risk their lives. I keep you entertained with. So the last thing that is happening in our borderlands, and we have to be loud about this, is the cruelty of the processing centers in our area, in the Tucson sector of Border Patrol. The purpose of this pretty much is to break people, their spirit, to really punish them, so they feel so scared that they never want to come back. So what they're doing, they're deporting them. They're sending people with 2 days after they present in the border area, in the border wall, in the gaps of the border wall. That's where they present. So they go back now deported with nothing. All they owned after we meet them is this sweet little boy with his mother's plastic bag. They threw away his grandma's blanket. That he traveled with it for thousands of miles. And they threw it away. Border Patrol is doing this to break our people, their spirit. And they give him onion bags with maybe something they have. So my voice right now, I want to make it loud and clear. We have to ask for dignity, a deportation with dignity, because we know that they're not going to stop at this moment. Nothing is going to change at this moment. I already know that. But I am asking that you help us to send letters, to write, get in touch with me, how we can do this together, is to make sure that winter's coming and these people get deported without their jackets. Women get deported with paper clothes, women, because they get wet or something during the processing. They call ice boxes, hieleras, where they put these people for 2, 3, 4 days. And after they deport them, they just have the clothes they have on. They throw away their jackets, they throw away everything. And we had to be present. We had to be present with a blanket. We had to be present with a jacket. But how sustainable that is for us, we don't know, because it's thousands of people. And nobody talks about this. And, in the political area, I'm talking. Us, we do, because we care. So I hope that we continue to work together, to be present. And if you cannot go to our area and be part of our groups, it's okay. Share the stories. Talk to your neighbor, talk to your church, and share websites, books that talk about our journeys. But I am going to close with a moment of silence, because I know what we heard is heavy. But the moment of silence is to remember our brothers and sisters that have lost their lives in that journey. For the ones that worldwide are moving right now, we have our climate change migrants all over the world, refugees. So let's do a moment of silence so we can close. Thank you for your presence. I am honored to be here. And that's coming up.
Thank you so much, Dora. So you will notice that you have sticky notes at your table. If you have specific questions or comments that came to mind, you'll see Dora's name, just post them up, and at the end, we're going to have a time to share those. Right now, we're taking a 15-minute break. There are break treats and coffee and tea and all kinds of things, so get up, stretch, you know where the restrooms are, and Pastor Eniku may want to add something too.
I just want to invite you, we have a prayer station here. If you are so led, you can light a candle in memory of people who perish at these dangerous crossings. You can also write a prayer, and we can hold each other in prayer and support and honor the lives of our brothers and sisters.